So my main guitar, which is this one, the action was too low. I've taken the nut out now, but the action was too low, and it seemed to be these two middle strings, so the D and the G string, and I don't know, some of the timbre I use in this guitar, spotted gum, I'll never use again because it moves around, and that might be the reason why it's happened. But anyway, whatever the reason, I've got some darkish timber because this nut's black, so this is walnut, and I've just used my sharp knife here and I've just cut along the corner, so cutting like, say, from here down to cut like little slithers like this off. But because it's on a corner, I'm getting triangular slithers, which is what I want, because I want the slithers to reach the bottom of the nut slot, and a triangular shape is the easiest way to do that. So it won't completely fill in the bottom, but at least it will touch the bottom. I put some super glue in there as well, and so you can see that they're a triangular shape, but you should be able to see here they've kind of pretty much completely filled it in. The part they haven't filled in will fill in with the glue. And so I'm just going to trim those off now with some cutters, and then we'll file them down a little bit. Now if you've got a white nut, some people say use baking soda mixed with super glue and just fill it in, and then just file it down or use a saw or whatever. Okay, so I'm just going to get this side on. Will you be able to see it easier if I do it side on? I can hold it over here anyway. So I'll trim this one. Hopefully I don't... Yeah, that's good. I was wondering if it was actually going to rip out when I trimmed it. Just got to be a little bit careful not to like put any leverage on it when I'm cutting it. So now it's still sticking out past the edge, so I'll get some sandpaper, just sand it back lightly till it's flush with the front and back of the nut, and then I'm just going to cut into this a little bit until I get them to the height I want, and away we go. So just one way of raising the action at the nut end if you need to. If all of your strings are low, you can just get something very flat, slither of wood or something, and put it on the bottom, and then that'll raise all the strings. And what you can do, so if you get something thin, like this is a very thin piece of maple, whenever I get little thin offcuts, I keep them because they're so useful for filling in cracks and doing all sorts of stuff. But as you can see, this is probably about 0.8 of a millimeter or something. You can get something like that, cut it a bit, and just glue it onto the bottom. Of a white one, you'd use this. I could use some walnut on the bottom of this one. You normally don't see the bottom of the nut anyway, once it's on the guitar. So you can put it on the bottom, glue it on with some super glue, make sure it's flat, and then put it in, see what it's like. If the strings are still too high, because it's timber, you just come back and sand a little bit off. Just sand it, keeping it flat, put it back on until you get the strings the height you want. So it's all sanded now, and you can see that this is pretty much flush with the top here. So these two strings don't have a notch in them essentially at the moment. So I'm going to cut those down a little bit before I put them in with the saw, and then once it's in, I will check the height and then loosen the strings off, lower them, tighten the strings back up to tune again, and keep trying them until I get them the height I want. Alright, so I've put the nut back in. Now I do like super duper low action, so if you have a look at, say, my E string here, that's how much movement there is, which is not much, and I'm just touching my finger on, see. So that's the kind of action I have and I've been getting away with. But now I've lifted these, where are we, these middle two strings here up a bit, so you can see they're both a bit higher than the other strings. Like this string here, you probably can't even see it moving, it's so close. The A string and the E string here, it's very low, but it works. But these two were yellow buzzing, so now they're, I'd like to still go lower, but I'm not going to risk it because maybe they just need more room, these two strings, to vibrate. So I'll play it for a while, and if it starts to irritate me, I'll risk it going slightly lower. And there's the nuts, you can see after we've finished doing it. You can actually, I was going to say, you can probably see a little bit of brown actually on the sides of it, where the timber goes down. But anyway, as long as it does the job.